And it's my theory, like when you talk about the transatlantic slave trade, parts of me don't really believe it because this is what they tell you, in your history classes, and it's my opinion that it's just sort of an indoctrination, to get black people to believe this is how we came over to this land. I personally believe that we were already here. I believe that we are the indigenous people of this land, because black is more of like a status, just like white is a status. There is no country called black. That's not our ethnicity. You see what I'm saying? But they call us African American, which there's no place called Africa America. So that's not our nationality. I believe we are the so-called indigenous people of this land, not the so-called Native Americans. I don't believe that. And if they are, in fact, those are the people who are, in my opinion, taking credit for being indigenous. And let's just say that that's true. Then they're definitely derived from us. I believe it was different tribes of us. And another thing I believe is that, okay, for one, with Africa, I don't understand how somebody could come over and take over a whole country, and the country just willingly surrenders to these white folks. We're going to take up a bunch of people. No, I don't believe that happened. What I believe what happened is history tells us, well, even though the history is written by them. However, this is what I believe about it. Now, going back to the days of Pharaoh, we know Pharaoh had slaves. If you look that up, you find out the slaves were black. And of course, the rich people, they didn't work. The poor people, they worked. Okay, so those people were in fact slaves. So what I think what happened was, I think people were sold over. I think Africans were sold over to the Europeans or to the Spanish or to the Moors. That's what I believe happened. They were sold to them. You know what I'm saying? For who knows what, maybe for some type of different grain or some type of product or something that somebody had, like a trade type of deal. That's personally what I believe that happened. Now that counts for Africans, but for people that were already here on this soil, what I think happened was a lot of them were killed. I don't think all of them were killed. Clearly they're not, because we're still alive today. We're descendants of those slaves, is what they tell us. Okay, we're supposed to be descendants of the slaves. Okay, but I don't think all of those people were killed. What I think was you had to do some sort of indoctrination. You had to do something there. Like, I think that black folks on this soil were doing the same thing during slavery and before slavery that they're doing right now, fighting one another, bickering and arguing and murdering one another. I firmly believe that. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Nothing new. You know what I'm saying? It just evolves. So it may have been a thing where we were taking each other out with handmade weapons and stuff, and then it escalates to guns. But I think that's always happened with black folks. And while we sitting up there bickering and fighting and arguing and killing one another, it's easy for somebody who's not one of us to slip right in and to instigate on both sides. That's divide and conquer, to play one side against the other, while they sit back and they reap the benefits of both of y'all's labor. That's personally what I believe was transpiring. So now I don't think it's this whole big thing. Yeah, there may have been, a nice amount of us that came by way of slave trade. And then that's another thing, that when you look at Africans today and you look at us today, there are clear differences between their appearance and our appearance. Yeah, we have some alleged African features, but we don't look like Africans. And we damn sure don't look like what they say Americans are supposed to look like. We're a whole different thing. I think we are the indigenous people of this land. That's what I believe, and I believe that those of us here that are so-called descendants of slaves are merely prisoners of war. I believe we were in so-called tribes. I believe they came by, and it may have been an even thing where they had other slaves fighting us. They could have even did that. See, because now, granted, money didn't exist, but people would, if the people were back then like they are now, the motherfuckers would do anything to get what they want. They don't care. It's the same thing now. So it could have been, well, well, so-and-so's got this weed over there that I want, and they want us to go and fight up against this group of people. Shit, we don't give a fuck about them, even though the same color as us, but shit, they're going to give us this wheat, or they're going to give us these workers or these slaves or whatever, so we going to do what we got to do to get that from them. You see what I'm saying? This is before, say money came into play. You know what I mean? So it's just my theory that we always been fighting one another. We always been at odds with one another. It's always been easy for white people or any other kind of people to come in between us and divide and conquer. And then when you go into the whole, like the Jim Crow thing, that's another thing to perpetuate that system. It's always been little petty shit that black folks perpetuate to keep us divided, to say, oh, I'm not like them, I'm me, I'm like this, I'll fuck them and this and that, So I don't believe, that whole story, you know what I'm saying? You don't hear no Africans as a whole, from any country in Africa coming out talking about they looking for us. And I see like one little bullshit video or whatever, but as a whole, they're not coming that out. How come the African government ain't sending for us? You know what I'm saying? They're not out here trying to reach out to us. There's a disconnect there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else's people, when they come over to this soil, they got a direct line back to their home country. And we don't. That's because this is our home country. We've been here. We are prisoners of war. That's what I believe. Made to believe that we're free. I mean, look at the shit that we fought for. Civil rights, equality, justice. How? Don't no free person fight for shit like that. Only a slave would. A slave would sit up and want to be considered equal. A slave would be considered, not even a slave, but a prisoner of war, considered 2/3 a human. Less than human, subhuman. That's a prisoner of war. You're not gonna treat them like a person. You know what I'm saying? So it just leads me to believe that, that's what we are, man. We've been here, man. We've been here and we ain't never leaving here. And no matter what they tried over the thousands of years, it didn't work because we still here and we still surviving. And we gonna keep on surviving. It's just, at some point in the game, we need to